Thank you so much for tuning into Unravel. You are listening to Unravel with Natly Denise.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Nightly with Natly. Good to see you guys. Good to see you. Hello, chat. Thanks to Sophia. I am here. Hey, what's up going on? What's going on, Boss Supreme? Thank you so much for modding for me tonight. So, oh gosh, I've got to go to sleep straight after this because I've got to wake up pretty early. I've got a radio show that I am going to appear on, and after this, I will put the links in my description below. Where is it? Let me pop this picture up right quick. So I will be on a morning show tomorrow morning, which is, I don't know, I'm kind of weird. Like I kind of still like the old school radio. Like I don't know, there's something about it that I just find so cool, even though we have like more advanced ways of doing things. You know what I mean? I'm going to post this picture right here. So tomorrow I will be on the Donnie Walker show in the morning. Here we go. And I will post the link. By the time you guys listen to this on audio podcast, I'll still post the links in the description. But I will be there 9 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. Central. So if you guys want to listen to me on radio, they're going to ask me about my testimony, everything to do with, how I got involved with the counter trafficking movement, and basically my testimony all over again, which is kind of crazy because, as you guys know, there was an attempt on me, and then it was ironic because I was already serving before, and volunteering like with anti-trafficking ministries, and then it happened, that coercion happened to me or whatever. So anyway, it'll be very interesting. I'm very excited for that. What else? Tonight, I'm chilling it. I didn't have time. I was very busy today. I was on 2 podcasts. Phil sneeze coming on. Ooh. Bless me. All right. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump straight into the news tonight. I do have some Travis Scott updates. I know you guys love that because we're trying to make sense of everything with Travis Scott wise, and we're just trying to make sense of what the heck is going on. So let me pull up my screen here, share. All right, we'll start off with this. Astroworld EMTs said they had an impossible job of treating 11 cardiac arrests at once. CEO of medic company defends workers and says it's something I'll have nightmares about for the rest of my life. This is coming from Daily Mail. The CEO of a medic company hired to work at the deadly Astroworld Music Festival defended its staff, who he said they treated 11 patients in a cardiac arrest during the crowd surge that would claim 10 lives. Alex Pollock, CEO of Paradox, the company hired at Astroworld organizers, set the record straight Monday about his team's efforts to save the lives during the sold-out festival, which 50,000 people attended. November 5th, CNN reported. So firstly, let me just give my opinion that I still think it's very weird that 11 people had cardiac arrest. Now, people have had different perspectives on this entire thing with Astroworld. Of course, there are the skeptics, those that are, they won't necessarily say like this was absolutely funny. And so they kind of play a bit more of an Occam's razor, like on steroids with this type of information or this type of situation rather. And so a lot of people have different perspectives about this. Now, I just find it strange that 11 people in total, had cardiac arrest. I'm just going to mention that it's probably not going to be mentioned in this article. I just want to reiterate that I just find it very strange that 11 people had cardiac arrest. Now, is it possible that they went into cardiac arrest because of the asphyxiation of the crowd surge? Maybe. But, That part to me is just a bit unexplained, and up to this point is still weird. So they mentioned the fallen victims. This is an EMT who is a medic at Astroworld. Concert goers have described how the packed crowd grew dangerous hours before Scott appeared on stage at 9 p.m. and seeing people collapse while he performed. Scott's attorneys have said he did not know about the deaths and injuries until after the show. Well, he clearly knew about some sort of injuries. I mean, there was somebody who passed out right in front of him. Now, to be fair, he did call. He called for the concert to halt for like that moment, so that way that person could get like the care or get the help that he needed. But still, outside of that, it's just still very strange that, you know, he didn't know, because he had a bird's eye view of everything. Pollack said following the crowd surge, his team of 70 medics and the impossible feat of treating 11 people in cardiac arrest at the same time. He said his team ignored safety protocols and continued to go back to the crowd after the surge to assist those at risk. They witnessed what they witnessed left them traumatized, he said. And that's really what a lot of these people are saying, whether they're security guards or people that were actually concert goers, that they're all traumatized. This is something I'll have nightmares about for the rest of my life, Pollack said. The team is extremely broken up about it. Seeing so many young people getting CPR at one time is just something no one should have to go through, even though we were medical professionals. We should be used to it. You can't get used to something like that. One of the EMTs contracted by Paradox recounted the struggle medical personnel went through to save lives in a series of TikToks posted last week. Remington Richardson said concert goers told him no one had helped a girl who had been lying on the ground for 10 minutes and that she didn't have a pulse when he arrived. Y'all hear that? I've been covering this. I find it strange. Let me just give you guys my thought shot here. Not thought as in THOT. I mean thought as in my thoughts. You know what I mean? I'm just kidding. But let me just kind of recap you guys on this, because and I'm going to read that statement again so that way you get full context of my thoughts. So we've already had an ICU nurse who happened to be there, right? And I reiterate this story a lot, but long story short, she passed out. They crowd surfed her to a medic area. She was still unconscious. She woke up, and when she realized what was going on, that nobody was experienced around her, the medics and all that, she jumped into action and helped these people. She jumped into action and actually helped. And what she said was that there were at least 2 people that were, you know, lying on they were like unconscious as well. She checked their pulse in the medic area, mind you, in the medic area. So we got to think about context of this entire concert, right? But in the medic area, she checked the pulse of 2 people and they had no pulse for at least 15 minutes. You know what I mean? So this is the argument that I always make. So were those 2 people that this one nurse in one scenario, were they part of the now 10 people that perished from this? You know what I mean? What are the probabilities that these 2 people that she mentioned in her testimony, that they were part of the 10 fatalities that happened that night? You know what I mean? So let's go back to the article. Continued on. It says, Remington Richardson said, concert goers told him no one had helped a girl who had been lying on the ground for about 10 minutes and she didn't have a pulse when he arrived. That is now 3 people from independent witness testimonies that claim that there was at least that these people who were unconscious didn't have a pulse for, let's just say, at minimum 10 minutes. Now, for those of you in the chat that might be in the medical field, maybe you can tell me better. I don't know what the max is. Like, I would think like if it's at least 10 minutes and somebody doesn't have a pulse, that's pretty serious. But look, if you guys in the chat are listening and you're in the medical field, you're a nurse, or you know the basics of receiving a pulse, let me know. Is it usual that somebody with a pulse, without a pulse for more than 10 minutes, is it usual that they can still be alive? I don't know. 10-15 minutes just seems like a long time to not have a pulse. That's just my opinion. That's the way I observe it. So at least a girl who he was lying on the ground for 10 minutes and she didn't have a pulse. He said people in the crowd were grabbing him, desperate for help, and that he had to prioritize people in critical condition. On top of the chaos on the ground, Richardson said radio calls for backup did not go through because of how loud the concert was. We were presented with an impossible situation, Richardson said. House Fire Department officials told CNN that they were not in radio communication with the 𝘸𝘭𝘠 EMTs as the deadly crowd swell unfolded. Let me repeat that again. Houston Fire Department officials told CNN that they were not in radio communication with 𝘸𝘭𝘠 EMTs as the deadly crowd swell unfolded. Why not? According to Patrick M. Marty Langdon, president of the Houston Professional Firefighters Association, Houston Fire Department officials on standby were giving only cell phone numbers, which are not reliable during emergencies because of the signal weakness during the large events, CNN reported. So that's strange because I've also, and maybe I should find more concrete so I can present this. So I'm just going to say that this right now is alleged. And I'm going to just say it's alleged right now that these testimonies are alleging from different people that they had no cell phone service, including security guards. That is very strange. And there's one testimony that I actually meant to find so that way I can present it to you guys. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. She's a security guard. This was sent to me by one of my followers. And she claims that the whole thing was sketch from the get-go, that or maybe I'll make a video about this tomorrow, that she got there, she had no experience, and they basically asked her if she wanted a job, and she said that the whole thing was sketch from the get-go, that they basically didn't ask her too many questions, that they told her from the jump that she wasn't going to have cell phones, like cell phone service or whatever. So there's multiple ways we can corroborate that there was no cell phone service. So I just find it weird personally that they would only give these EMTs or medics phone numbers to, communicate with each other. Pollock, who is working the concert, denies the claim and said 𝘸𝘠 staff were used radios provided by the event organizers. Audio recordings of the police communications from the night of the festival revealed that officers on the scene calls for the concert to stop because people were being trampled, but Scott carried on with his performance. Scott was only minutes into his hour-long set when at least one Houston officer radioed over a police channel that the main stage had been compromised by a massive crowd surge. Recordings of the police radio traffic obtained by Houston Chronicle reveal how quickly law enforcement became aware of mounting danger in the throng of concertgoers shortly after the rapper began performing. Looks like folks are coming out of the crowd complaining difficulty breathing, crushing type injuries, one official said over the police radio around 9:21 p.m. According to the radio, seems like the crowd is compressing on itself. Let me ask you a question. How many stories have you heard of or reporting of the types of injuries that were, I guess, made throughout this entire thing? I'm just going to do a quick search right now. Astroworld injuries. Because over 300 people were injured. I see a bunch of lawyers. I don't see any immediate stories about the types of injuries that were done to the crowd individuals. What I do see is that there are multiple lawsuits, personal injury lawsuits. So maybe we'll get a little bit more from that type of discovery. But why is the media not, why are they not reporting the lawsuits? You know what I mean? Like that, or I'm sorry, the injuries. That part is a little weird. So let me continue on the story. I just find it weird. That's just a thought that I have. It's weird that they're not reporting the types of injuries, and that also weirds me out, because were any of those injuries, do they lead into death? You know, like were some of these, like, unfortunately, I hate to use this as an example. 9-year-old Ezra was Ezra Blount, I believe, who just recently died from his injuries. And I get it that he, and 22-year-old Shahani, who died from her injuries. Like, how many more of these 300, like, is it statistically probable that out of the more than 300 people that were admitted to be injured by Lina Hidalgo, the Harris County judge, so I don't know why I forgot that word, she admitted that over 300 people were very injured. So is it probable that out of the over 300 people who were injured, that there were some fatalities tied to that? Why are they not reporting that? I'm just trying to make cases and think of questions. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to question this entire thing. Scott kept performing. The newspaper reported that the officers spotted people leaving the crowd, but that their voices remained calm through the first hour. As the crowd surged, officers at the site grew increasingly alarmed at what they are seeing, and one radioing in, they have to stop the show because people were trampled and they're not breathing. I'm at the medical tent, one officer radioed in around 9:30 p.m. There's a lot of people trampled and they're passed out at the front of the stage. A second officer is heard on recording saying of the unfolding crisis, that crowd is super thick, super dense. If you go in there, this could possibly turn into an officer rescue situation. Later, another officer says, we're getting multiple reports of people getting injured. We have another report of cardiac situation with CPR at the stage, by the stage. Polak said that at one point his staff was performing CPR on the back of carts, but concert goers who did not take the situation seriously were jumping on top of the carts, pulling EMTs off of the people. They thought it was a joke, Polak said. What was making these people so wild? You know what I mean? Like, what made these people act and behave the way they did? According to Polak, the biggest challenge to his staff was not lack of resources, but navigating an uncooperative crowd. We never came close to running out of equipment and supplies, Polak added. We could have treated at least double the amount of patients. We never expected our lives to encounter a situation like that. It was absolutely horrific. Now, let me just point out that there is a conflict in this type of setting, because at least in the medic area, which you would think, and actually, you know what? Let me look this up real quick so I can just prove you guys my sauce. I don't want to come out with my sauce and not have you guys question. Well, I guess I wasn't showing you guys the article. That's fine. So let me prove my sauce really quick. The nurse that I was talking about, Madeline Eskin, Daily Mail. So let me just prove my point real quick. Madeline Eskin, the nurse who was there, I mentioned her earlier. Madeline Eskin reported that in the medic area, like this is the area that they're supposed to treat people, there was no types of any equipment, no ambu bags, no there was just like not any equipment whatsoever. So I find that very conflicting that the EMT would claim that they did, and maybe they, maybe they did, and it was away from the medic area. I just find it very strange that that they would have supplies, but she claims they didn't. Let me find this real quick. Ambu. Here it is. All right, let me just show you guys right here. Right here. All right, so this is Madeline Eskin. This is her story. Some of these people, medical staff, had little to no experience with CPR, didn't know how to check a pulse, carotid, or femoral, 𝐓𝐫𝐾𝐡 showed on Instagram. Compressions are being done without pulse checks, so people who had a pulse were getting CPR. But meanwhile, there's not enough people to rotate out doing compressions on individuals that were actually pulseless. The medical staff didn't have the tools to do their jobs. This is it right here. Despite the crowd around us trying to get someone to stop the concert, they just kept going, even though Travis acknowledged that someone in the crowd needed an ambulance. Let me continue. Here we go. There's one ambu bag. This is where it is. Where the F is any of this S word is, and they essentially there is none. You guys see this little part right here? Right here. Oh, my mouse. You guys can see my mouse. Where the F is any of this S word, and they said essentially there is none. There's one ambu bag, one stretcher, and one AED for 4 people who are pulseless and blue. People from the crowd were trying to help. Teenagers are doing CPR trying to help, but they're doing it incorrectly. You guys see where I'm going with this? So I'm just very confused. How is it that this EMT is claiming that they had a plethora of... Where did it go? Why am I doing this? What is wrong with me? Here we go. I don't know why it left me, but I just find that very strange that these EMTs would claim that they have a lot of supplies, but then that nurse's testimony was conflicting, that they had only one ambu bag, one AED. There were 3 people, and now 4, and that they were blue and lifeless. You guys catch me? Like, these are just things that we need to question. That's all I'm saying. Okay, where was I? Scott kept performing. Looks like folks are coming out the crowd complaining, difficulty breathing. As the crowd surged, officers at the site grew increasingly alarmed that they were seeing. With one radioed in, they have to stop the show because there's people trampled. They're not breathing. I'm at the medical tent, one officer radioed in about 9:30 p.m. There's a lot of people trampled and they're passed out in the front stage. The second officer is heard on the recording saying of the unfolding crisis. The crowd is super thick, super dense. If you go in there, it's a possibility to turn into an officer rescue situation. Fast forward, they said that, according to Pollock, the biggest challenge to the staff was not the lack of resources, but navigating the uncooperative crowd. And they say that they could save more if they could have managed the crowd, which I don't deny. I believe that it was a very difficult thing to manage the crowd. I just find that statement very interesting, that they had a lot more resources when that nurse claims, differently. Richardson seconded his TikToks we never came close to running out of equipment. Richardson seconded his TikToks, placing blame for much of the chaos on the crowd, over 50,000 highly irresponsible people. There was 0 crowd etiquette, he said. They didn't give a single damn about anyone around them, which I from what I see, it doesn't seem to be. On Sunday, 9-year-old Ezra Blount of Dallas became the latest fatality of the festival. But as soon as Scott took the stage, his father, Tristan Blount, said that people were starting to pushing, causing him to lose unconsciousness. So this was Ezra, the little 9-year-old boy that died the other day. Police are still trying to determine whether any of the deaths occurred because of the surge or if factors later came into play, such as accidental fatal overdoses. I am so sick of the media using this excuse. It was not overdoses. I mean, well, it could have been. But the fact that they're trying to deflect this onto crazy injections, overdoses, it's enraging. There are 300 people injured at the event, including 11 who went into cardiac arrest and dozens more who were knocked unconscious with the surge. Scott released a statement. We know that. And these are the victims as of latest. So let me pivot on. because I know I spent a lot of time on that one story. This I found very interesting right here. The crowd surge wasn't mentioned in the Astroworld operational plan. You guys remember that video I made recently of the Smurfs? There was like a code word Smurf that they used for the deceased people. I'm just overviewing your comments just to make sure that I have anything. Cool. Okay, you guys are cool. You guys are just listening, kind of looking for the information. I got y'all. So this is something that I found very interesting. You guys remember I made a video about the Smurf coding? Now, I initially thought it was very weird that they would call deceased Smurfs, but again, it could have been just code to, deter away from panic, deter away from people, getting upset or what have you. So it could be that. But what is interesting to me is now we're reading that this document that came about the naming, the coding of deceased people as Smurfs, they had no operational plan for crowd surges. How do you not have an operational plan for crowd surges when you're essentially hosting a crowd? Because that could very much happen. Emergency plans for the Astroworld Music Festival did not include protocols for dangerous crowd surges like the one that unfolded during the rush to see the headliner Travis Scott, which left 8 people dead, well, by now 10, and hundreds of other injured. The concert area in Houston, where a crush of fans had pressed forward during the rapper's Friday night performance, remains largely in place as authorities continue a criminal investigation. More than 20 lawsuits, I would argue a lot more by now because this is a little bit older of an article, had been filed accusing organizers of failing to take simple crowd control steps or staff properly. Houston police, along with a fire department, played a role in safety measures at the sold-out show that drew 50,000 people. The union head of the Houston Fire Department pushed back Tuesday, saying firefighters did not have a presence inside the festival and were not given radios to communicate directly with organizers. That is strange. Like, what is it about this whole thing that they wanted to cut communication off by cell phone signal? They didn't want to give very important staff members such as security or firefighters the access to radios, according to this. Now, the EMT, I'm just going to be very honest with you. I'm a little bit sus about this testimony because there's just a lot of conflicting things. But he says, no, they actually did give us radios, although there's claims that they didn't give them radios, as says so right here. The 56-page event operations plan for the Astroworld Music Festival included protocols for dangerous scenarios, including an active shooter, bomber terrorist threats, and severe weather, but it did not include information on what to do in the event of a crowd surge. Excuse me? In any situation where large groups of people are gathering, there is a potential for civil disturbance and riot that can present a grave risk to the safety and security of employees and guests, the plan said. The key is properly dealing with this type of scenario is proper management of the crowd from the minute the doors open, which we all know was a big hot mess at Astroworld, as there is videographic evidence that has circulated the internet by now. People were dogpiling at that entrance, dogpiling. They didn't even wait. Crowd management techniques will be employed to identify potentially dangerous crowd behavior in its early stages in an effort to prevent a civil disturbance riot, which, by the way, was also not executed because apparently people were not getting checked. Like, people walked in with full-on backpacks, never got checked. I had one witness last week when I was on with Nick, my friend Nick Alvier from Good Lion TV. And the witness that went to Astroworld, she said that there was somebody who snuck in a fire extinguisher. So they weren't trekking for anything. Experts say crowd surge deaths happen because people are packed into a space so tightly that they're being... Well, we know that. Authorities have said a part of their investigation will include reviewing whether the concert promoter and others behind the festival adhere to the plans submitted. Marty Langton, president of the Houston Professional Firefighters Association, said firefighters had asked the festival organizers for a radio so they could be in direct contact with each other. Langton said firefighters were given a list of cell phone numbers who would call during an emergency, We don't use cell phones for emergencies. We use radios. We need direct contact because these situations unfold seconds later, LinkedIn said. Makes a lot of sense. He said a group of 4 firefighters were stationed inside a mobile command van in a nearby parking lot starting at 7 a.m. on Friday without direct communication with the festival organizers, and firefighters inside them monitored 6 different radio frequencies to keep tabs on what's going on, he said. Festival organizers, this is a very interesting article. There's a lot of tea in this article. Festival organizers had contracted with New York-based Paradox to handle all medical services at the festival. A 22-page plan the company submitted to local officials ahead of the festival said it estimated 70,000 attendees, more than the actual number of concert goers that planned for a daily staff of more than 80 emergency medics, doctors, registered nurses, and supervisors. Paradox said in a statement Tuesday that the company had been prepared for the size of the venue and the expected audience with the trained team of medics and EMT. Now that is now conflicting. It was cooperating with investigators. Houston Police and Fire Department investigators said that they are reviewing the surveillance video provided by concert promoter Live Nation, as well as dozens of clips from people at the show that were widely shared on social media. Astroworld event operations and emergency medical response protocols filed with Harris County and obtained by AP states the potential for multiple alcohol and drug-related incidents, possible evacuation needs, and ever-present threat of mass casualty situation are identified as key concerns. The festival is held in a parking lot that is part of NRG Park, a complex that consists of stadiums, an arena, and convention center. So listen, this whole thing again is just it's very strange that, this is where we're at. You know what I mean? Like, this is very strange that there's already conflicting stories. Like some this EMT is saying, like, it's not that we didn't have resources, it's that we couldn't get through the crowd. And I don't deny that. I think that that's actually probable because the crowd is huge, right? But the fact that he had supplies and resources enough to save more people, as he claims, but yet there's an ICU nurse who had no resources whatsoever. So I don't know. This entire thing, again, just gets weirder by the day. Now, let me pivot on. I just wanted to give you guys an update on that. There's just a lot of crazy things with the whole Astroworld stuff that just because it becomes unraveled every single day. That's why you guys are here, because we're on Unravel. Okay, I wanted to go over this story with you guys because right here. Queen is unlikely to be seen in public for the rest of the year. I'm not even going to go through the story, but just FYI, I think that the queen is not visible. Let me see. There we go. All right. Apart from her daily routine, going through official state papers, she had no other formal duties yesterday. The 95-year-old monarch has no further outside engagements in the new weeks, meaning that January, February, before she's seen in public. That's really all y'all need to know. I just wanted to let you guys know that we might not, I don't know if is that like a thing? Like, we might not see the queen anymore. Like, I apparently she was in the hospital and all these things. Like, I don't know, just very sketch the way that the media covers this stuff up. So the queen will not be seen for the rest of the year, apparently. Right. Okay, now this one I'm going to pivot to. I'm a little bit all over the place tonight, but this is actually really disgusting. And I was going to make a direct video about this, but I don't know, that like, this is just, you guys know, like, for the past few years, how we've kind of observed culture transform itself like pretty fast. But like the recent 2 years, you really have been able to observe culture at like an intensified scale. Well, if you've been paying attention, like a lot of stuff has gone really fast about, developments, like, certain agendas, propaganda, all that. But especially you see it in where they're trying to come at kids, right? Like they're trying to indoctrinate kids. And I knew it was going to get to this part. I knew it was going to get to this point where these people who I'm going to talk about are trying to file themselves as part of the LGBT community. And that is people who are minor attracted persons, apparently. So this professor at Old Dominion University is trying to make this case that pedophiles should be referred to as minor attracted persons instead. Can you guys believe that? This is the world we're living in right now, where people are actively trying to fight for pedos and destigmatize them. I'm actually going to play the video right here. I think it explains a lot.
I use the term minor attracted person or MAP in the title and throughout the book for multiple reasons. First of all, because I think it's important to use terminology for I use the term minor attracted person or MAP in the title and throughout the book for multiple reasons. First of all, because I think it's important to use terminology for groups that members of that group want others to use for them. And MAP advocacy groups like Before You Act have advocated for use of the term MAP. They've advocated for it primarily because it's less stigmatizing than other terms like pedophile. A lot of people, when they hear the term pedophile, they automatically assume that it means a sex offender. And that isn't true, and it leads to a lot of misconceptions about attractions toward minors. I've definitely heard the idea that you brought up, though, that the use of the term minor attracted person suggests that it's okay to be attracted to children. But using a term that communicates who someone is attracted to doesn't indicate anything about the morality of that attraction. From my perspective, there is no morality or immorality attached to attraction to anyone because no one can control who they're attracted to at all. In other words, it's not who we're attracted to that's either okay or not okay. It's our behaviors in responding to that attraction that are either okay or not okay. And I want to be extremely clear that child sexual abuse is never.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. I just wanted to show you from the horse's mouth what this is. Stop.
Okay.
No. Pause. All right. So this professor is saying that basically, I'm just going to read this little part and then I'm going to just kind of talk about it. Alan Walker, who's a professor, teaches sociology and criminal justice as a tenure-track assistant professor at Old Dominion University in Virginia, has penned a controversial book attempting to destigmatize pedophiles titled A Long Dark Shadow, Minor Attracted People and Their Pursuit of Dignity, published by the University of California. In a recent online interview with the Prostasia Foundation, a child advocacy group that promotes child sex doll usage for pedophiles, a lot of people, when they hear the term pedophile, they automatically assume that it means a sex offender, and that isn't true. And it leads to a lot of misconceptions about the attractions toward minors. Walker earned their PhD in CUNY Graduate Center in 2017, according to the university's website, and specializes in mental health, court systems. And I didn't know that this was a subject you can graduate in. I'm being very serious. I didn't know that you could, there was a specialty for queer criminology. It says it right here, queer criminology. I didn't know that was I honestly didn't know that was a thing. From my perspective, there's no morality or morality attached to attraction in anyone because no one can control who they're attracted to at all, Walker said during a November 7th interview. In other words, it's not who we're attracted to that's either okay or not okay. It's our behaviors in responding to that attraction that are either okay or not okay. And there's a petition basically calling for the resignation of this professor. As of today, I know that this professor's been put on leave, but only because there was like a major call to action. There were a lot of students. There was a lot of students that what is this? What is this? So there are a lot of students, a lot of parents that were very weirded out of this, rightfully so. You know, and so she was put on leave, and basically, I said she because that's what I think. I don't know what this is, but she's basically saying that the act of being attracted to children is okay. It's the after effect. If they go against children, then that's where it's wrong. But it's like, do you not know that if people have urges that are bad, and that is a bad thing, they will eventually act upon them. And they will utilize exploitation at the end of the day to get to what they want. So they might not actively touch a child if they, whatever. I would argue like they shouldn't even be in the realm of thinking of that. But imagine, like, what is her definition of acting? Because if she means that they're not going to go touch a child, that does not mean that they're not going to go and buy child sexual exploitation material on the dark web, that they're not actively, eyeing children. Like, this is the most upside down, twisted thinking. And so with that being said, this person, and I don't know what they call themselves or whatever. This person has deleted their Twitter. They have been placed on leave by the university. But by the way, the university, they didn't respond for comment for a long time, and they didn't fire this person immediately. They took a long time to respond. So, anywho. Guys, I'm going to cut this short tonight because I, again, have to get up for a radio show in the morning. That is the update. I will provide more tomorrow. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast. Thank you guys for liking, sharing, subscribing. I'm going to go get a night rest because I am very, very exhausted, but also got to get up early. So I appreciate you guys. I love you. I love you, and I appreciate you. I will catch you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Unravel with Natly Denise. Please give this podcast 5 stars.